Hello, good evening, welcome. Good whatever time of day it is, wherever you're watching whenever you're watching this. Captain Mike, and so today we are doing the fifth leg of my journey across the United States in a 1910s Curtiss JN4. We are going. I'm gonna hang out on the World Select screen for a minute because the runway or the airport that I am doing this time is going to be or doesn't have any parking spots, so we're going to be going direct to takeoff. So I'm just going to hang out here for a minute, talk through what we're doing today. So when we last left off, I landed at Great Valley Airport outside Salamanca, New York. And as far as where we are in the story of the first cross country flight, on September the 24th of 1911, Cal Rodgers had landed in a field at Red House, New York, which I will point out when we get there. It was a Seneca reservation at the time, but anyway, he landed in a field there and with engine trouble, and after having supposedly fixed it, he attempted to take off, crashed heavily, and spent the next 3 days, or his entourage spent the next 3 days repairing the airplane. So that's where we are now. We are now where he took off after that. So this would be September the 28th, 1911. And today's flight, spoiler alert, today he would actually make some pretty good progress. So let's go ahead and get started now. Where's the... Okay. Engine's on. Like I said, this is just a strip, no parking, so I'm gonna have to hit the ground running effectively. Make sure that's all the way up. Okay. Give me a compass. Alright, and that is going the way I want it to. And... Nope, don't want that. Alright. I think that's everything. Quick flight control check. Yeah, okay. I'm happy. Alright, let's get this bird in the air. For anyone who's new, I am using just the chart with my flight plan drawn on it and the compass as nav aids. No GPS, no VORs. The plane doesn't even have a radio. Alright, conveniently, right next to the railroad track, so it should be easy enough to get me at least pointed in the right direction. I'm expecting this to be a relatively easy... So this is going to be a longer single leg than last time, but I think I'm only doing one tonight because I've got... Tonight's... It's just not a good night for me to be running super long. That said, I'm expecting this to be one of the easier legs to navigate. Although I've been getting good. I feel like I've been getting better at this as we've gone. Or I've been getting pretty good at this as we've gone on. So we'll see how it goes. Why does the scale look weird here? How does this vertical? Text looks. Probably should have figured this out before I started flying, but Hi, Lisa. How are you doing? Oh, I'm good. You like the plane? So yeah, I'm having a pretty good day. And we're now, well, I'm now in the air, and I gotta say, I've been enjoying flying this, little vintage thing a lot more than I thought I would. See if I still feel that way when I get to the Midwest. It's gonna be a lot more boring, but, I'm looking forward to having some nice little new animations soon, so that'll be cool. So this plane is called, so this is a Curtiss JN4 Jenny. These were built in, from 1916 to, I think, 1919. Don't quote me on that second number. These were used as trainers for the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War I. And afterwards, a lot of them were sold as Army surplus and ended up becoming a favorite of air show pilots in the 1920s. So I don't think you've been here for much of this series. So what I am doing is essentially a recreation of the first first flight across the U.S., or first person to fly across the U.S. Plane he was using was a little bit older than this. This is what he was flying in. It's a Wright Brothers Model EX. And yeah, so right now we are in Western New York. We're flying over Western New York. And my goal for today is to make it to Meadville, Pennsylvania. There are definitely people who have better crazy plane knowledge than I do, but I do like to know what I'm talking about when I talk about things. Yeah, so this being from the... This being, like, so I think what would have been typical of the time was that a lot of this would have been spruce, I think. Because as far as metallurgy goes, we're not at the point where we can really... So like the frame would have been spruce or something, because we're not at the point where metallurgy could make sufficiently lightweight metals, or like we're not at the point yet where people were able to work with aluminum and stuff like that, which is kind of what the standard for modern planes is. The wings and control surfaces are canvas. And then I think just around the engine cowl, you've got some probably steel. Yeah, so I'm crossing the U.S. So yeah, the idea is that I'm crossing the U.S. I'm doing it at doing it in short hops. This plane's range is about 140 miles. Today, my plan for today is to do about 99, or to do about 100. I'm not going to go super long tonight, but because I've got stuff to do. But yeah. Okay, so, today's flight, here. So, yeah, to show you sort of on the map, so this is upstate New York, so right here where I'm starting is sort of in the western part of upstate New York, it's referred to as the southern tier. And where I'm going to end up today is Meadville, Pennsylvania, which is at the very middle, very middle western part of Pennsylvania, south of Erie. For a general overview of what the flight plan is like, the way it worked is that, or the way the historic flight worked, is that the pilot who did the first cross country flight, Rodgers, had a railroad caravan going with him, and so what he did was he followed. He started in New York, followed the Erie Railroad across the eastern U.S. to Chicago. Took the Chicago and Alton down. Which one of these is Kansas? I think this one's Kansas City. Over here to Kansas City. The MK&T south to San Antonio, Texas. And then the Southern Pacific to Los Angeles. So that's sort of the general. So we're doing sort of a zigzag. And that was what was easiest for navigation, or that's what worked for navigation then, and also for avoiding the high part of the Rockies, because the planes of the time weren't able to go over mountains like that. Yeah, flying in real time. And I am doing my best to navigate using just landmarks in my map here. Also got a compass, or well, obviously the cell phone's anachronistic, but I've got it, but I figure having a handheld compass isn't cheating. Yeah, it's got basically the whole world in it, which is one of the big selling points. Yeah, the Microsoft Flight Simulator series, and X-Plane, that stuff. They were traditionally geared towards airplane nerds and flying, maybe professionals who needed like extra training and stuff like that. But the newer Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 that have really gone out of their way to make the scenery, all the scenery and everything look wonderful, and that's it is really appealing to be able to fly around the world like this and really just everything looks the way it is, so to speak. All right. So history lesson, as I was explaining last time. So the original flight across the United States, I'm replicating the route of, it took place in September of 1911, or began in September of 1911, and so right about here, Rodgers, the pilot, had to touch down the airplane because he was having problems with the engine ignition system, and having at least come up with a workaround for the problem, he rather hastily decided to take back off and keep his progress going, but didn't take the time to find a sufficiently appropriate place to take off from, and ended up crashing and seriously damaging his airplane. When his train-based convoy caught up with him, so we're somewhere around here. When his train-based convoy caught up with him, they took him back to Salamanca, New York, where he ended up spending several days repairing it. And then, so that was on the September 24th was when he crashed. So September 28th, the plane was finally airworthy again. And actually, despite the fact that where I took off is about 5 miles from Salamanca, New York, it is roughly where he ended up actually taking off from, because I couldn't find a suitable spot in Salamanca. But yeah, anyway, that history lesson, the history lesson's over with. Rodgers covered about 200 miles on September 28th. Like I said, I don't think I have enough time to fly this plane 200 miles tonight, but we'll see. So this is the only game I'm streaming right now, and I do put a lot of hours into it. Some of the other stuff I'm playing right now, Forza Horizon 6, Forza Horizon series is one of my favorite, that's the Forza Horizon series is one of my favorite games, or that series is like one of my favorite game series. I am getting to the end of 007 First Light. Really enjoyed that. I've really been enjoying that. Other favorite games of mine, the Zelda series, the Silent Hill series, the good Halos, which... I'm considering I'll branch out eventually. I don't want to spend my entire life in front of a microphone. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I was supposed to turn those off. Alright, there we go. That was cheating. Yeah, I don't want to spend my whole life in front of a microphone. Forza, I like to play while I'm listening to podcasts and stuff. So that one's like, that's like my me game, that's my me time game. Some of the other stuff, I actually have streamed Zelda in the past. Made like a sort of half-hearted attempt to become a speedrunner at it, or a speedrunner of Ocarina of Time. Speedrunning's, I guess, not exactly my bag. What do you, story games? I mean, like I said, Zelda, Silent Hill, um, the Elder Scrolls games, um, yeah. I am not as so um I like the Resident Evil games a lot. Like the good especially like Resident Evil since 7 has been like really good. Although I Classic 4 is probably or Resident Evil 4 original is one of my favorite games ever. Not that the remake's bad or anything. I just have more nostalgia. Obviously, have more nostalgia for the original. I've played the original Dark Souls and kind of bounced off it. I would do it. Like, I would probably like Elden Ring, but there's just I don't know. There's just other things I've always like. Every time I've thought about it, there's other things I wanted to play. I guess I guess I kind of like my combat unsophisticated. Um, that's very much not what Dark Souls in its ilk is. Actually, a game that's like on my like sort of long-term playlist is Kingdom Come Deliverance. Which I guess is kind of somewhere between an Elder Scrolls and a more Souls. Well, at least combat-wise, is a little more sophisticated than an Elder Scrolls game. Yeah, if you well, I'm streaming like I started streaming Flight Simulator because I have a lot of I started streaming Flight Simulator because none of my most of my friends don't play it, and I have a lot of knowledge of what's like I have all this knowledge of planes and stuff. Just wanted to show off and maybe do something educational, do something a little bit different than what other people are doing. I don't know. I'm playing stuff blind. I guess I'm like as for other games and stuff, like sometimes I get the inkling to play like I get the inkling to play games that I like on stream like on for an audience, but I'm also afraid of looking like a dumbass. So I don't know. I'm very reluctant to play like things I haven't played before for an audience. But yeah, I guess the short answer here is I'm doing this because it's something that other people aren't doing. I think if I were to try to do variety streaming, I'd probably end up trying too hard to be like Vinny Vine Sauce or something like that, and it's not going to be good for anybody. Southwest. Okay. I am fairly sure I am not lost. I think I am about here on the map. Well, I appreciate your vote of confidence. Thanks. Yeah, full-time job. I do IT for a university. Pays the bills. It's another reason I'm only doing this a couple hours a week right now is because got a daytime job. You know, making a couple of Twitch bucks would be nice, but I don't need it. Or I'm not desperate for it anyway. I'll consider it. Right now, I am doing okay. Like, right now I'm doing okay managing this by myself. Just, as you can see, the chat's pretty chill right now. I mean, I get like bots once a day, but that's I can deal with the occasional clanker. I will do that if the chat starts to get busy. I will start looking for mods, and you will be one of the first people I reach out to. Yeah, like I said, I'll keep it in mind. Like I said, I think things are just chill enough right now that I don't really need, yeah. Here's, I've also got one or two IRL friends that I think deserve the honor of being first mod. If you follow. Well, I mean, it depends how long it takes for me to get where I'm going today, but I'm expecting this to be about another hour. So I'm doing, oh hey, Vias, speaking of IRL friends. So this is, so right now we're at I guess you would consider it Jamestown or Lakewood, New York. So you haven't been here for a while, so what I am doing is I am retracing the route of the first person to fly across the United States in 1911. So today I am retracing the flight he made on September 28th, 1911, which started near Salamanca, New York, and is going to be ending in Meadville, Pennsylvania. And we are not quite at the halfway point of that. Also, speaking of trips, Vias, if you're still down for it, remind me to message you about pigging out Friday. Yeah, that was like a month ago. Yeah, so this is a different series. So I finished that other series, where I was flying out of Chicago. This will eventually end up in Chicago, but not not for a while. This plane's goes about. I've been averaging about 64-ish miles per hour flying this. So yeah, I'm taking it in hops. I am taking this plane across the U.S. in essentially hops of about 100 miles a day or so. Like, I don't think today is going to be a particularly long one because of my work schedule. It's easier for me to because of my work schedule, I can stay up later on Thursdays than I can on Tuesdays. That looks like some sort of factory, which was probably not there in 1911. Okay, so to elaborate a little more on what's going on, with the flight, so the guy who crossed the U.S. in 1911 was doing so with a train caravan, following him with supplies and personnel, or supplies and mechanics and so forth. And so the primary way that that they navigated the 1911 flight across the country was by following the railroads. So I'm trying to do the same thing, and well, I've got my map here. I'm trying not to use GPS or anything. We got a somewhat more sophisticated onboard compass than they would have had, but it's a compass at the end of the day. And I got my map, and yeah, I'm doing my best to keep track of where the train lines are going. It is worth keeping in mind that in 1911, airplanes were still novelties, so there wasn't sort of no air travel infrastructure whatsoever. None of these airports existed. I mean, you landed in a field and hoped there wasn't anything. There weren't any obstructions. Roads Some of the roads existed. Cars were still relatively new. The first U.S. highways were still a few years away in 1911. Or in fact, they weren't even the first U.S. auto trails. I should specify, not even highways. Yeah. I'm very liberally using the chase cam because you can't see out of the front of this plane very well. Yeah. I guess if I were doing this in VR and like could move my head around, that might be better. But also trying to do this in Twitch chat and everything in VR is I just don't want to. And given how this game runs normally, I suspect it runs like absolute ass with the VR headset. Alright, so we should be in Pennsylvania now, I think. I forget what graphics card are you running? You got an AMD, so I might not. Or you have an AMD, right? Anyway, yeah, it is rough on hardware. Until I upgraded to the 5070, I was getting a lot of complaints about VRAM from the game, which was very annoying. So yeah, that right there is something like it. I guess it also depends on what resolution you're running it at. This is I'm playing at 1440p, and I guess if you're playing at 1080, 8 gigs of VRAM might be enough. If you're playing at 1440, it's not, apparently. You should be able to run 2020 okay on this. But yeah, I would not specifically recommend Flight Simulator 2024 unless you got serious juice and well. I'm not upgrading my PC again anytime soon unless I start getting Twitch money. Although even without hardware prices being what they are, that would probably be the case anyway. If I ran anything heftier than a 5070 Ti, I would need Twitch money just to offset the extra cooling or the extra air conditioning. Yes, okay. My biggest frustration with this following railroad tracks thing is that the railroad tracks keep disappearing into the foliage. I've complained about this every single stream so far. Or every single stream I've been doing this so far. The only, hopeful thing is that you can count on the rail tracks to have very shallow turns and not be able to go up hills. Or have to be more or less level, and that's the case here. So. Alright, that... Okay, so we just had a big turn to the right, so that puts us about here. Oh, goddamn, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, New Vegas is a damn good game. How, how heavily have you modded it? Oh, okay. You found Viva New Vegas. Good, good. Okay, I was going to say unless you're like got a lot of hours in it already, I was going to suggest you go back and do that. But you found it on your own, so good. um, so what's the last? So how far around the Mojave have you made it so far? Yeah, have you made have you made it to Vegas yet? For Freeside or any like? Oh, okay. Which followers do you have with you, if any? Okay. I like Boone. I like Boone a lot because especially if you give him a good sniper rifle, he will basically do combat for you. Veronica's also a lot of fun. Veronica is Felicia Day. If you missed her. Yeah, yeah, as I was saying before, as I was saying earlier, before you got here, other than this, I've been playing Forza Horizon, and I am just about at the end of 007 First Light, and I'm really enjoying that game. It is providing me with a very convincing argument that I should be playing the World of Assassination Hitman games. Because I've tried to play the older Hitman games and they're very Eurojank. Alright, so that would be Corey. I guess that puts us about 2/3 of the way through today's route. Yeah, I've been meaning to go back through the new Resident Evils, because I haven't played 9 yet, but I got it for free, or free. Got it with my graphics card. I haven't gotten around to playing it yet, but yeah, the 007 First Light's definitely been a hell of an experience. I've actually got a pretty serious wish list for the fall coming up. Like, yeah, Ace Combat 8, the new Silent Hill game, and Star Wars Galactic Racer, all coming out in October, I think. And the Ocarina of Time remake, but I'm not about to run out and buy I don't want to have to buy a Switch 2, but I do know that it's going to be getting more expensive soon. Well, yeah, after New Vegas might be a while still. Okay, well, there are two railroads here, and, shit. Alright, I guess I'm following the south. I'm gonna try the south one. Well, hello, never gonna give you up. Yeah. I gotta say, I was expecting to get real bored flying the Jenny, and I haven't been. How are you doing? I am hoping... Oh, I'm pretty good. If you're new to the channel, what I am doing is recreating the flight path of Cal Rodgers' 1911 flight across the United States. He was not doing it in a Curtiss Jenny, but this is the closest to the period correct aircraft I could come up with. Yeah. Yeah. So, right now we are in northern Pennsylvania. Assuming I am not lost, we're somewhere around here, approaching Union City. Started today's stream, so the leg I'm doing on today's stream is about 99 miles, 100 miles. I don't know why I keep saying 99. But, so started here near Salamanca, New York. Goal is to make it to Meadville, Pennsylvania. And I am doing it using just, like, the traced map and, the onboard quote-unquote compass. And otherwise attempting to navigate the way Cal Rodgers would have, which was by following the railroad tracks. Cheating a little bit, maybe cheating a little bit with the chase cam, but of course the JN4 you can't see out the front that well. Yeah, it is interesting to think about, though. Like, .1911. Well, there's no airplane infrastructure whatsoever, and well, honestly, most of these roads aren't even here yet in 1911. The first U.S. auto trails don't show up until the mid-1910s. Now, the U.S. highways were introduced in the, I think, 1925 or 1926. plenty of people have cars, but there aren't a whole lot of roads as we think of them today. Yeah, but yeah, obviously it looks nicer for everybody else's benefit to fly like this. But again, my main justification, I feel justified doing this because you compare the JN4's front end with the Wright EX's front end, and the Rodgers had a pretty serious advantage when it comes to visibility. I am hoping to see a Jenny in the flesh in about a week's time. If things work out, I'm going to be hopefully going to the U.S. Air Force Museum next week. Pretty sure. I'm almost certainly have I might even have a picture from the last time I was there. And nope. There's the mandatory bot of the evening. Yeah, yeah, the U.S. Air Force Museum's awesome. Have you been to the Smithsonian, and/or I guess specifically the Udvar-Hazy Center? Because between the two of those, I have a hard time ranking which one is the better museum, or which one's the better airplane museum. Okay. They do. They do. What, oh god, what's that, what's that crazy experimental bomber? The Smithsonian has an X-15. Well, okay. I think the X-15 is at the main... the X-15's in the Washington, D.C. part of the Smithsonian, of the Air and Space Museum. Which is... So, like, I would say in terms of... like, it's... You definitely want to do both branches of the Air and Space Museum. The DC Mall branch has more, like, historic milestone aircraft, and then the Udvar Hazy Center has, like, just a bigger variety of just interesting things. Like, the Apollo 11 command module is at the main Smithsonian, but the space shuttle is at the Udvar Hazy Center. Definitely do both, should you end up in the area. The main Smithsonian... So again, this plane here that this Wright EX, this is the Smithsonian. This is in the Smithsonian, and yeah, this is the first plane to fly across the U.S. I did not lose track of these railroads. Yeah, I will give you the very brief... I will give you, like, sort of the very brief version of the history here, because I've been repeating myself a lot recently, but, So the first flight across the U.S. was done in a Wright Brothers Model EX airplane. It belonged to a pilot by the name of Rodgers. And so he was attempting to... So originally, this whole thing was spurred on by a contest by William Randolph Hearst, the newspaper magnate, who offered $50,000 to the first person to fly across the U.S. He ended up, like, changing the terms of the contest several times, and I suspect he didn't. I suspect he wanted to make sure that he didn't have to pay up. But this cross-country flight happened anyway. It was sponsored by a apparently incredibly awful grape drink called Vin Fizz, which is otherwise largely forgotten. But they did put up enough money to make sure that he actually managed to pull this off. No longer confident. Like I said, there it is. Yeah, $50,000 is about the modern equivalent of about $2 million. Maybe a bit shy of $2 million. So there were a couple other pilots. There were a couple of pilots who made serious attempts at the claiming the prize. Cal Rodgers is the only one to actually finish the cross-country flight in 1911. He ended up having the most well-funded, or I guess because of this VinFizz sponsorship, he ended up having the most well-funded, well-supplied of the attempts, or of the of these adventure attempts. Interestingly, so this flight took place in September and October of 1911, and Cal had only seen an airplane for the first time in April of 1911. Had done his flight training in June, and then was doing this cross-country thing in September. He died in a crash during a demonstration flight in April of 1912. But he got to be the well, he got to have some glory. Or he got to have his moment of glory. Another fun fact, his hometown was, or he was born in Pittsburgh, PA, which is my current residence. And his remains are about a mile from where I live. Which I only found out after I'd started doing research on this. Heading is 260 something. I looked it up. He's got a bigger he's got a pretty substantial, or he's got a reasonably substantial marker where he is, and it's got engravings talking about it. The engraving talks about where he is. He came from money, so yeah. He came from money, and also like sort of a naval royalty family of sorts. Cal Rodgers himself never served, but he was the great-grandnephew of Oliver Hazard Perry, who, if you remember your history classes, was the one of the heroes of the War of 1812. Yeah. Yeah, he's less well remembered than, say, Charles Lindbergh, but it was interesting because I've been reading a lot about it. It's very interesting. It's like it really was it really was quite the challenge to do this, and aviation was just so immature at the time. Some of the challenges involved. Yeah. Yeah, the aviators of the 20s, or the aviators of the through the 1920s, they're just really on uncharted territory and flying things that flying like that Wright EX. The Wright EX, just the extent to which it resembles a modern airplane is almost almost negligible. And then you have this Jenny thing. You have this Curtis Jenny. People were flying these upside down and walking on the wings and literally flying through barns. Yeah, I guess the difference is it's one thing when it's just some guy horsing around on an airplane crashes and dies, and versus versus a DC-6 full of paying passengers crashes, or 747s or whatever. So I'm still following the railroad tracks, but I'm not any... Maybe this is Cambridge Springs, maybe not. I'm hoping I'll recognize Meadville when I get there. I guess if nothing else, I've got this dual carriageway, or I've got this motorway to look forward to, or motorway, it's I-79 look for. That's another challenge. So I think that is a challenge that I have sort of self-imposed, that may or may not have self-imposed, that Rodgers would not have had to deal with, which is that he was just putting down wherever it looked flat and clear enough to do so, whereas I have to find runways and land at them. I managed to find a grass strip without help on the last stream. I was very proud of myself for that. Some grass strips are just fucking nightmares to find. Okay, if that reservoir there is this, then that actually means I'm pretty close to Meadville. And that this is Sagertown. Alright. Which would make that Meadville. Yeah. Yeah, Flight Simulator is, well, it won't let you start in a random... Maybe it'll let you start in a random field. I have a hard enough time getting it to start on the runway I want it. Get it to start me on the runway I would like to start on, so, you know. This is Meadville, and that means the airport. Aha! I see it. Okay. Like I said, relatively easy one. This is actually using quite a bit less fuel than the specs say it's supposed to be. Probably make it all the way to, could make it all the way to Kent, but, I also need to get ready for work tomorrow. Now one of the parts of flying the Jenny I always find amusing, trying to figure out how to stop this thing. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Yeah, I'm proud of that. Proud of that one. Because this is so slow, this isn't, or this plane's so slow and has decent ground effect lift, so it's not the hardest thing to land ever. I'm traditionally kind of bad at trail draggers, but, this one's alright. What it doesn't have are any brakes, and the turning circle can be kind of bad. The turning circle's a little bad, so taxiing is sometimes a bit of a challenge. I mean, yeah, that is what they did. That is more or less what they did, but you can't, doesn't let you physically drag the airplane around. or I can't be arsed to buy that, I can't be arsed to buy that ground handling mod everybody likes. Okay, so one last history lesson. So so the leg that I just replicated was flown on September the 28th, 1911. From here, Rodgers would refuel and continue to Kent, Ohio, which will be the next one I'm doing. But, again, that's not going to be tonight, because I got too much to do between now and work tomorrow. Here, we'll just stand back and admire the plane for a minute. Okay. So, next stream is going to be Thursday at 7 Eastern, when I'll be doing at least one more leg of this, possibly two, depending on how I feel at the end of that one, or at the end of the first one. There will be no stream next Tuesday, because I'll be coming back from vacation, but there will be one on Thursday after that, and we'll be back to my normal Tuesday, Thursday, going from there. So if you can make it Thursday at 7 Eastern, I'll see you then, and if not, well, I'll see you when I see you. Everybody who's stuck with me, thanks for watching very much. Have a good evening, night, afternoon, whatever time of day it is where and when you're watching. And yeah, thank you so much. And fly. Yeah. Thank you. Never gonna give you up. You've been a great viewer. Yeah. I will. Everybody, fly safe, and see you later.